Southern man, Neil Young. Southern man, better keep your head. Don't forget what your good book said. Southern change gonna come at last. Now your crosses are burning fast. Southern man, I saw cotton, I saw black, tall white mansions and little shacks. Southern man, when will you pay them back? I heard screaming and bullwhips cracking. How long, how long? Southern man, better keep your head. Don't forget what your good book said. Southern change gonna come at last. Now your crosses are burning fast, Southern man. Lily Bell, your hair is golden brown. I've seen your black man coming round. Swear by God, I'm gonna cut him down. I heard screaming and bullets cracking. How long, how long? Now this is a song by Neil Young, Southern Man. This is the song that spurred the supposed feud with Leonard Skinner, Sweet Home Alabama. So we're going to do Southern Man. Then we're going to do Sweet Home Alabama. And we will discuss it, but I'm going to make a video after that. Because when it's all said and done, one of the most popular Freebird concerts for reactors is the 77, 2 months before the plane crash in California, which is Neil Young's backyard. Not really, because he's a Canadian who entered the United States illegally. So for him to be talking about the Southern man is kind of hypocritical. But we'll get into that later. Neil Young has since, well, we'll just say changed their tune. Ronnie Van Zant was wearing a Neil Young t-shirt in that concert in 77. So let's get the Southern Man. Let me pause this. All right, 1970 here. Neil Young, Canadian / American. I'm not sure if he ever really became an American or not. I'm not real sure. But Neil Young had very extreme views on lots of different things in history, not only the racism. He had very, very stigmatic views on many, many things.
Southern man, better keep your head. Don't forget what your good book says. Southern change gonna come at last. Now your crosses are burning fast. Southern man.
Neil Young had a tune about his guitar that was just so unique. It was so good. And Ronnie Van Zant and Skinner were big fans of Neil Young. Neil Young was a big fan of Skinner. In fact, we'll talk about that in the next reaction. But yeah, I love Neil Young. I mean, I always did.
I saw cotton and I saw brown, tall white mansions and little shacks. Southern man, when will you pay them back? I heard screaming and bullwhips cracking. How long, how long?
those, yeah.
Okay, so my knowledge or my experience with Neil Young, excuse me, is limited. I'm familiar with things like Old Man and Heart of Gold. Obviously, a charismatic voice reacted to both of those, and Harvest Moon, which was a sequel to his album Harvest, which came out in I think the early '90s. But I'm used to like Neil Young, the sort of folksy country styled acoustic singer songwriter. I am like I know he did stuff with like Crazy Horse and stuff like that, where he was a you know straight ahead rocker. But I was not prepared by for how like densely packed this song is. Like
Plus
that
Crosby,
groove,
Stills, Nash, and Young.
yeah. The groove at the start was like it was dense. Had that piano in it. It had the electric power chords. It had those like really layered backing vocals. This came out in 1970, so this very advanced production here.
A lot
And
of vocal
I
fry, yeah.
I'm also used to hearing him sing in a softer tone. It's sort of got that nasal sound, but it's got a lilt to it as well. Uh, I didn't realize he sang this high. His voice is really high in this. It's got a lot of cut, and also wasn't ready for how heavy the lyrics were. Again, I've heard this is a song that I've heard of, but I've never actually heard. So between the and like that groove shift was also really cool. So um, I guess I'm thinking of Neil Young, the sort of simplistic country style singer songwriter, and here I get this almost progressive edged rock song that's so densely orchestrated. It's very cool. Like right off the bat, I've got more respect for him as a songwriter. And again, lyrics, I was not expecting them to hit this hard, but yeah, he's not flinching when it comes to the imagery here.
No, not at all. And the 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 civil rights movement was almost 20 years before this, and we had done went to Vietnam and everything when this song came out. So to say it was a little late to come out with this song blaming all of the South for everything, and uh, reparations, and we hear all this, and I'll speak on these matters more. We're gonna do both songs in this reaction. So
Yeah. Just I'm just going to state this for everyone out there.
oh,
Slavery is a terrible thing, okay, but it is certainly not a localized phenomenon to the southern United States. Every country, every nation, every place where people have enslaved other people. That's I'm not trying to make
except
light.
maybe Canada.
Well,
No, I know, man. The
yeah.
African slave trade is still alive and well right now.
Oh yeah, there are actually more slaves now than there were in the days of the transcontinental slave trade. But that doesn't make any of it right. I'm just saying
No,
when he says but to associate Southern man with slavery is just like you said, it's a very stigmatic way of thinking. It's
the
not
the,
healthy and it's just factually incorrect.
the southern United States being racist is more predominantly worldwide known than Germany being where the Nazis come from.
Yeah.
I mean, and maybe I'm gonna get in trouble like Hank Jr. did for making a Nazi analogy, but it's just true. I mean, we don't call German music Nazi music.
Exactly. We
We call it,
don't associate every German with Hitler's regime. It's
and we don't consider Elvis Presley Southern. We don't consider the Eagles Southern. We don't consider any of the bands that did not fly the rebel flag. And the rebel flag was just this flag of the South to a lot of people. There were a lot of black people that flew this flag because what a lot of people don't realize is all the people in this generation come up that was listening to this music were raised by these slaves. So these people lived in the house with them. They grew to love them. The slaves probably wouldn't have left if you would have begged them. They were family. They went on vacations. Unlike in the North where they went back to their little shack or whatever it was, the people in the South were much closer to the African American people. Now, I'm not saying it's right in any kind of a fashion, um, Hank Williams Jr., Leonard Skinner, they all sing of African American roots and heritage, and the blues was born in the South. B.B. King and Robert Johnson and Elvis Presley and Hank Williams. I mean, music basically was born in the Southern United States. So,
Yeah.
um,
Via interactions between white musicians and African American musicians. It was born in partnership.
yeah.
So, yeah, just again, blanket statement, everybody. Just so you know, we're not we're not being apologists for slavery. We're simply saying that it is a much more complex situation than it is being portrayed as.
Well,
So,
I'm going to go into the comments of both songs and listen to what the people have been saying for the last 20 years, and look it up and see, and let them speak for themselves. So, but yeah,
but,
this is wickedly gnarly,
yeah.
man. This is a good sound. That tempo. Now, I'll try to find one without the imagery of the flag, but
Yeah,
when this song come out, that flag was not stigmatized.
right.
Um, it flew everywhere. It was part of Alabama's flag. I grew up in the South, and I never thought of that flag as being racist. Now, when I grew up, I started hearing black jokes in school because I went to a school that there were not very many blacks. And yeah, there was a lot of systemic racism that um, that went on. And then when the Black Lives Matters and all that happened, I mean, it opened a lot of people's eyes to the systemic racism that was going on. But in my opinion, taking away Aunt Jemima and taking away statues and such was not the way to handle it, and definitely not vandalizing your own people's stores. But Aunt Jemima was one of the most empowering stories of a black woman ever in the history of the world. I mean, she made an empire out of when black women weren't supposed, women period weren't supposed to strive and achieve these types of um, things. And you got to look at it like this: if you're living in Alaska and some kind of existential, maybe not Alaska, if you're living in Indiana, where you're at, and all of a sudden something happens in Indiana, I mean, how hard would it be just to get up and move everything somewhere else, especially somewhere several states away above or below a Mason-Dixon line? And that's these days with loans and vehicles. And we're talking about horses and buggies and stuff back in the day. And if someone was in Alabama, then how the hell are they supposed to just uproot and move to the north? And how are they supposed to know who's telling the truth? There's no media, there's no news on TV, there's no anything. And you see black people fighting in the war for the South, and you love these people in your house. You don't really know why they're there. I mean, you probably figure out by the time you grow up that this ain't right, but they're basically your mom because you're probably your lazy ass white mama probably was running around or something, or maybe not. I'm not putting down the white woman either. I'm just saying Ronnie Van Zant was a very mild mannered man. They did not take the rebel flag down because they didn't think or didn't feel that they needed to. They had done nothing wrong. They had discriminated against no one. They sung positive music. Curtis Lowe is a great song about an African American who was just forgotten, chunked in the grave, but that is a true story, by the way. Curtis Lowe is actually buried in the same cemetery where Leonard Skinner, the teacher for Leonard Skinner, that's how they got their name. It was kind of a ha ha you to the teacher that gave them hell all the time for making all that noise. And Ronnie Van Zant was actually known as a street fighter, a really good street fighter, but very mild mannered and calm. But you could see that in him on the stage. And yeah, this song was it has a part in the beginning here that's just a response to this very, very brutally blunt song calling out the Southern man for everything that went wrong. And if you know anything about the civil rights movement, Montgomery, Alabama was the worst. That was the central station for the racist government there at the time, the governors of Alabama. So,
So if I may, before we
Yeah.
begin this,
you're good.
so I wanted to flash back to Southern Man real quick. Was that Neil Young playing lead in that song?
He does. I mean, he's never plays without a guitar in his hands that I know of. So
Like, I knew he was a really good rhythm player. Like if that was him on lead, he's like he definitely needs to be in more conversations as
that
far
is
as that.
more typical Neil Young than Heart of Gold or Old Man.
Yeah. But the guitar soloing over that wicked piano groove, that to me that reminded me so much of Skinner, just musically.
Yeah,
Um,
they're not very different. I mean,
yeah. And then I was also surprised at the fact that, as heavy as the lyrics were, there weren't really that many of them. Most of the song was just this wicked, wicked jam.
yeah.
Um, and also, listen to the guys. If you're going to listen to that song, listen to it with a good fucking pair of headphones, because, like, especially the vocal harmonies, you can pick individual voices out in that thing. Uh, Really, like I said, especially for its time, amazing production. So yeah, very musically, very impressed by Southern Man. And just to do a real quick dovetail of what you mentioned, you can take a thing like a rebel flag. Okay, if you have someone who's an actual racist and they have the rebel flag up in their yard or on their house or on their car or whatever, and you take away that rebel flag, that person is not going to all of a sudden stop being a racist. Okay, now that all you've given them is an actual claim to victim. Okay, there are plenty of people for whom the rebel flag it stands for Southern pride. It's like a totem of uniqueness, and I think if we're ever going to reach a point of, if we're ever going to progress, okay, as a country, as a planet, as a species, okay, it's not going to be when everybody thinks exactly the same. It is going to be when everybody respects different
Well,
venues of thought.
that's the big reason I firmly believe the rebel flag should have been banished just because of all the stigmas attached to it. A pentagram is not satanic, but it's so wound up in the satanic world to where, yeah, I'm not going to draw one on my car. You know what I mean? So, well, there goes Dukes Hazard. But like that show was, not, I mean, there was nothing racist in that show. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I grew up on that show.
right. So the comments in the two songs will explain a lot. We'll be able to talk a lot more in depth there.
1, 2, 3.
Turn it up. Big wheels keep on turning.
I got us in the way of the words. Sorry. Remind me that I've got to lighten this outer Jill.
Okay. Let me know.
Big wheels keep on turning. They carry me home to see my kin. I'm singing songs about the Southland. I miss Alabama once again, and I think it's a sin.
Carry me home to see my kin. Singing songs about the Southland. I miss Alabama once again, and I think it's a sin. Yes.
By the way, that's Charlie Daniels and Bob Seger on stage there with them.
I recognize
That may not
too.
be Bob Seger. That's definitely Charlie Daniels. Yeah, 100%.
Hat and the Les Paul.
Yeah, the one in the cowboy hat.
Singing songs about the Southland. I miss Alabama once again, and I think it's a sin. Yes. Well, I heard Mr. Young sing about her. Well, I heard O'Neill put her down.
Collins, one of the guitar players here, said that he done that little riff, that little and said Ronnie Van Zant had this funny look on his face, and Steve Gaines, which was the other guitar player, as Elizabeth kindly pointed out, that was a duet in the Freebird. I've never really thought about that. I've always thought of it as a solo, but it is a duet. This was on a plane, and they were thinking about going home to see their kid. And he done that little thing, and he's like, put the Neil Young part in there, and then wrote this song in about 12 minutes. Ronnie Van Zant did. And next thing you know, they've got one of the most popular songs ever. And as you'll see later, Neil Young gives them all the props in the world. Like, I think they done it very well, very respectfully, and I love the damn song. Matter of fact, Neil Young has covered this song several times since he died.
Really? Okay, that's cool.
1,000,000% to all the people that think they know everything. I'll prove this here in just a little bit.
I thought it was interesting that he basically said, I hope Neil Young will remember a Southern man don't need him around. I'm like, that's the most polite diss you could possibly imagine. And it goes with what you're saying about Ronnie being a badass but a quiet guy. And like you said, a real bad dude doesn't need to run his mouth. So the more I learn about Ronnie, the more I respect him. I first heard this in the gym when back in the days when I worked out. And it's not a really aggressive song, but it just has that sort of lively energy that'll put a little pep in your step. This was immediately followed.
It's a homeland ballad, is what it was meant to be. Just singing
so
about
catchy though.
Wanting to be at home.
Yeah, this was immediately followed at the gym by "Comfortably Numb," and I love Pink Floyd. Love Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd's music is great for many, many things, but lifting weights is not one of them.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
Cussing fishermen maybe, but not on
Shut up,
inside
Roger.
joke. Inside joke. Roger, damn it.
But yeah, this song is so catchy.
But yeah, my big brother was a Skinner, my other big brother was a Zeppelin, and I was Floyd and we were all outlaw country, but yeah. And Rufus Payne is who Hank Williams always attributed his learning to play from. T-Tot, and Hank Williams Jr. has sang with Ray Charles. Hank Williams Jr. has sang with B.B. King. Hank Williams Jr. has toured with so many African American singers. Had them in his band as backup singers. The Hotel Whiskey down in Memphis, where he was raised on jambalaya, crawfish pie. That's what his daddy sung. Jambalaya, crawfish pie, the field of gumbo. Tonight I'm gonna see my Ceremino. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. So the Southern people knew the African Americans way better than the Northern people. And also, if you'll just do a little research, pay attention to where all the textile mills sprung up while all this cotton was being picked and all these slaves were being had, and who benefited from all this cheap cotton. What area, geography of America it was.
In Birmingham, they love the governor. Now we all did what we could do.
So this is the most controversial line of the song, because this is where everybody points to their racist Look, they're saying in Birmingham they love the governor. I see it as in Birmingham they love the governor. Now, we all did what we could do. Now, Watergate does not bother me. Does your conscience bother you? Because Watergate was totally a northern thing, spying on everybody in the fucking country. But nobody cared about that. They only cared about what happened in Birmingham 30 years before Leonard Skinner ever made the song. So, again, not taking sides, just spitting the truth. That is not the original Leonard Skinner. There you go with the big Tex-looking guy on the back, I think is Artemis Payne, or either the blonde-headed guy down there is Artemis. They're so old. The two guitar players are still out. The guy in the curly hair on the left is the piano player. That one looks like he's photoshopped in there. That dude, I don't know who the hell he is. The two original backup singers there, and that is Johnny Van Zant in the middle. That is Ronnie and Donnie's middle brother, Donnie being the singer for 38 Special, Ronnie being the original singer for Skinner.
One of the coolest things I remember you playing for me was Hank Williams Jr. joining Skinner on stage. And for the life of me, I can't remember the song that Hank started playing.
Born to Boogie.
Born to Boogie. And then immediately everyone in Skinner just became a fan on stage. It was great to see. Giant smiles everywhere. They just sort of let Hank do his thing. It was, it was great to see. This music can bring people together in ways that nothing else can.
I've heard stories of Hank and Ronnie and Buddy Holly and Waylon sitting down and having conversations. And that'd be a hell of a conversation.
Oh, yeah. Wouldn't mind being a fly on the wall.
Hank has toured with Neil Young as well.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
In Birmingham, they love to go now. Now we all did what.
He was saying, ooh, 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 like, that's not saying, yeah.
It almost sounded like the first one. It almost sounded like there was a B in there. It said boo, ooh, ooh. So it's almost like, like they're mocking the response.
I never thought about that, but yeah, they're definitely not taking up for it.
Yeah.
I won't stop it again, but it says in a minute here, where the skies are blue and the government's true. And it sounds like sarcasm to me. The skies are blue, but the government's true. You know, like it's true what you're saying about the government. Yeah, they're fucking racists.
In Birmingham, they love to go now. Now we all did what we could do. Now Watergate does not bother me. Does your conscience bother you? Tell the truth. Sweet home Alabama, where the sky was blue. Sweet home Alabama, right, I'm coming home to you. Here comes Alabama.
That's the original boys right there. Ronnie Van Zant being down there on the bottom right with the Toxic Waste the Who shirt on.
Okay.
He always wore other band shirts. He loved that.
Yeah, I knew this was the original band just from the age of the photo.
Yeah. Wait a minute. That's Neil Young in the middle. That is Neil Young in the middle.
Oh, wow.
No doubt about it. 100%. That I say 100%, but damned if that ain't Neil Young. That's Neil Young. With the cross around his neck, that's Neil Young.
Right, yeah, he was in the face. Yeah, the long hair threw me.
And that's him. one of the greatest blues bands ever from Muscle Shoals. All African American.
Sweet home Alabama, where the sky was blue. Sweet home Alabama, Lord, I'm coming home to you. Sweet home Alabama, oh sweet home, where the sky was blue and the dumb is true. Sweet home Alabama, Lord, I'm coming home to you. Yeah, yeah. My daughter's goddamn.
So, in other words, if you want to know, ask fucking Montgomery. Don't ask Leonard Skinner. That's the way I took it.
Also, just how great are Leonard Skinner's guitars? I mean, that's
Oh,
what you sound like when you have your soul plugged into an instrument. It's always amazing. Their riffs, their solos, the way they can cover a song, just blows my mind every time I hear them.
and just the positivity of the music, man. I don't think people realize it. Like Neil Young was always singing about politics, and I mean, just always some kind of drama ass shit, man. I like
Yeah,
Neil
you know,
Young,
the
don't get me
damage.
wrong, but even though within his own self, he's learned. He's a miner searching for his heart of gold. I mean, he's very confused.
Neil Young's Southern Man was released in 1970, but the Canadian singer-songwriter believes it is still current, with the only variant being understanding it not just as a song about the southern United States, but referring to the entire country. Young shared a new version of the song in 2019. Young shared a new version dated 2019 on his website, commenting, "Here I am as an old man singing his 50-year-old song that was written after countless years of racism in the United States." Recently, and especially during the pandemic quarantine period, Neil Young has become the protagonist of some performances at home, the Fireside Sessions, as he waits for the 50th anniversary of After the Gold Rush on March 9.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's buffering there, but so he sung about that a lot too. He made songs about the gold rush and killing the Native Americans and stuff. And I mean, I'm with him on that. I'm not. I'm just pointing out how a lot of his songs were about this. All right. Neil Young wrote 2 protest songs in which he criticized the way of life in the South, especially concerning slavery, racism, and violence. Leonard Skinner did not like it, and they composed this song to pay tribute to that region, even though they were from Florida, and to answer Young, saying that he was wrong putting all Southerners in the same bag for crimes that a few had committed. Young was happy with Sweet Home Alabama. He said, "They play it like they mean it." I'm proud to have my name in a song like theirs. Neil Young wrote for Leonard Skinner. Following the release of Sweet Home Alabama, Neil Young composed various songs for Leonard Skinner as means of how do you say that, Jill? Conciliation, including
Yes, sir.
including his last standby, Powderfinger. Sadly, the plane crash occurred before they could use these songs. I forgot they were going to get together and collab. Greatest hits Young wrote, "This song could have been written on a civil rights march after stopping off to watch Gone with the Wind at a local theater." Neil Zloger, guitarist by profession, performed piano on this tune, an instrument he never played before. Wow.
Damn.
Never played before on After the Gold Rush. Young assigned Longren playing piano for a special trial. I don't know what that had to do with it. The alleged feud. Young discussed the alleged feud stimulated between him and Leonard Skinner in 1995, a conversation with Mojo magazine. "Oh, they really didn't put me down. But then again, maybe they did," he laughs. "But not in the way that matters. Not in a way that matters." I think it means shit. Shit, I think Sweet Home Alabama is a great song. I've actually performed it live a couple times myself. Young's least interesting song. Randy Newman suggested that Southern Man was one of the Young's least interesting songs. Southern Man and Alabama are a little misguided, he said. It's too easy a target. I don't think he knows enough about it. And that's just one.
You know what's kind of funny?
What's that?
So they've actually done studies to show which countries are essentially have more racist tendencies.
Yeah.
All right. So Canada is more racist than the United States.
Oh, really?
Thought I might throw that at Mr. Yeah.
The
Either
real
number
story
one is
behind-
Iran.
The real story behind the song Sweet Home Alabama, that so-called feud with Neil Young. Let's see if I can get her to read it again.
It doesn't matter where you come from, you know the song Sweet Home Alabama. The lyrics are probably burned in your brain, and we doubt you can resist the urge to dance when that main guitar riff starts up. But do you know the true meaning behind the Southern anthem's words? Sweet Home Alabama, where the skies are so blue, a sweet home Alabama, a Lord, I'm coming home to you. The story of Sweet Home Alabama begins not in Alabama, but in Jacksonville, Florida. That's where, in 1964, 5 teenagers formed what would eventually become the iconic rock band LYNYRD SKYNYRD. It wasn't until 5 years after getting together that they finally settled on the name LYNYRD SKYNYRD, though. After their former PE teacher Leonard Skinner, who penalized guitarist Gary Rossington for his long hair because it was against the high school's policy. Michael Arks archives the Getty Images. In 1972, the band, then comprised of lead vocalist Ronnie Van Zant, drummer Bob Burns, guitarists Alan Collins and Gary Rossington, bassist Leon Wilkson, and keyboardist Billy Powell, released their first self-titled album, followed by another, Second Helping, in 1974. The first track was a huge hit. Called Sweet Home Alabama, the single reached number 8 on US charts, its popularity due, at least in part, to a controversy hidden in the verses. Advertisement, continue reading below. The Portion of the song referring to Governor George Wallace in particular made some believe that LYNYRD disagreed with desegregation.
Hey, you're right. In Birmingham, they love the governor. Boo, boo, boo. You're right. I've been listening to that song my whole damn life, and I didn't know that. Now, we all did what we could do. Now, what? Yeah, boo, boo, boo. You're right, man. I had no damn idea. That's what that said. Well, I heard Miss Young sing about her. Heard O'Neill put her down. Hold on. Young had expressed...
I love how the
Go ahead.
The voice doesn't even try to pronounce Leonard Skinner, just spells it every time.
Yeah. Young had expressed his disappointment with racism in the South in two songs, Southern Man and Alabama. Southern Man, Better Bow Your Head. Well, we know what it said. The portion of the song referring to Governor George Wallace in particular made some believe that Leonard Skinner disagreed with desegregation, seeing as how the government stood for segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. But others interpreted the lyrics as a reminder to Young that not all Southerners are the same. We thought Neil was shooting all the ducks in order to kill one or two, Van Zandt later said. We're Southern rebels, but more than that, we know the difference between right and wrong. In fact, those boos are thought to imply that the band disagreed with Wallace's policies. And that bit about Watergate seems to be a pointed remark about the hypocrisy of the North, which had its own problems too. By all accounts, there were no real feud between the artists. We wrote Sweet Home Alabama as a joke, Van Zandt clarified. A few years following the release, we didn't even think about it. The words just came out that way. We just laughed like hell and said, ain't that funny? We love Neil Young. We love his music. There's Van Zandt. There's Neil Young. And you could keep reading forever, but I mean, there's just no controversy there. Here, now, this is pretty important. We'll read this last little part. Van Zandt grew up listening to Young regularly and rocked a Tonight's the Night t-shirt, most notably on the cover of the band's album Street Survivors. According to Rolling Stone, he was even rumored to have been buried in it. Wow. Neil Young, too, owned a Leonard Skinner Florida whiskey shirt and once said, I'd rather play Sweet Home Alabama than Southern Man anytime. And for what it's worth, Young came to regret the song that started it all. Alabama richly deserved the shot Leonard Skinner gave me with their great record, he wrote in his memoir, Waging Heavy Peace, in 2012. I don't like my words when I listen to it today. They are accusatory and condescending, not fully thought out, too easy to misconstrue. Not long after the members of Leonard Skinner tragically died in the plane crash in '77, Young performed a medley of Alabama and Sweet Home Alabama as a tribute. According to Rolling Stone, he's never played Alabama again since. Rosington, the sole remaining original member, gave the last word on the matter in an interview with Garden and Gun in 2015. Everyone thought it was about Neil Young, but it was more about Alabama. He said, we had toured there, going all around playing clubs and National Guard armories. Everyone was real nice. When we were out in the country, driving all the time, we would listen to the radio. Neil Young had Southern Man, and it was kind of cutting the South down. And so Ronnie just said, we need to show people how the real Alabama is. No matter where you're from, Sweet Home Alabama, or Sweet Home Florida, or Sweet Home Arkansas, you can relate. We love Neil Young and all the music he's given the world. We still love him today. It wasn't cutting him down. It was cutting the song he wrote about the South down. Ronnie painted a picture everyone liked because no matter where you were from, Sweet Home Alabama Sweet Home Florida or Sweet Home Arkansas, you can relate.
That is an awesome quote. Really well phrased.
So there you go. You can make your own assessments here. Well, how many of me is there? Son of a bitch. Yeah, I've got archives of those comments and stuff, but uh, there ain't no reason for it. It's just sad to me that the band is still known as the most racist band ever. And I swear I've heard them called that. So, God, look at all of me. So, yeah, mental health is real, guys. This has been a really long reaction. We know. Um, just thought it was something that needed to be talked about. They're two great songs, two great artists. Um, one from Canada and one from Florida. About as far away as you can get from each other. Well, north and south.
I do want to
So,
kind of bring up
go ahead.
musically, this is kind of an example of adults working things out like adults. Neil Young, I think he meant well, but even he admits he didn't phrase his statements very well. Skinner called him out on it. Neil was self aware enough to understand what was being said, and they're still fans of each other to this day. That is great to see.
And I have, you know, I always use this as a kind of a measuring stick to whether someone, when I'm talking to another white person in privacy about anything black people, their culture, whatever, and they have to tell me they're not racist, that's usually a good sign that maybe they have some racial tendencies. But anyway, I'm going to say now, I have lots of black friends from the pen. Well, that was a bad example, but I mean, that is where I met a lot of them. And from the game rooms, the gambling. So, yeah, man, I mean, black people love to gamble and eat. I used to work in the gambling halls. I used to work with several black people from IHOP. I was in jail with them and actually had a lot of street cred around here before they shut the game rooms down. A couple of my buddies were apparently true gangsters and have been gunned down since then, and I miss them terribly. But they they respected me because I didn't have to try to sag my pants or to listen to rap or because at that time when I first got locked up, I didn't know any rap. So I was like this fucking pale ass damn redneck that knew 7 black people his whole life and didn't know any rap music. But a couple nights before I was released, I was singing along to Drake, Hotline Bling, and that had the Future and Drake singing, and it was just, you know, it's a cool thing. So racism is going to stay alive as long as people keep harping on it. Let the shit die. At least let that word die. You know what I'm saying? And maybe things will become a little better.
I think there's a gentleman named Thomas Sowell, a 90-year-old African American gentleman, really one of the smartest people I've ever heard talk. But he said racism is essentially on life support, but it's being kept around by hucksters and politicians and people who have a vested interest in dividing people.
Yep.
I think even Morgan Freeman was asked during an interview, basically saying, someone asked him, okay, what can we do about racism? And he just goes, stop talking about it.
Yeah.
It's like you
He's,
talk to me as
he,
Morgan, I talk to you as Mike. Why does race even have to enter in the conversation?
and Morgan Freeman even called his own people out and said, as long as we keep calling each other black people, then we're going to naturally be referred to as black people. And this is something that's true because the whole time, everybody I've ever been friends with, they, as in black people, yes, that's how I'm saying it, will refer to themselves that way. Black people, man, we got to get our grub on, or black people, man, we don't, in a cool way, you know what I mean? But still, if you're, and I ain't gonna talk about that other word. I mean, I'll just say this: if you're gay and you don't like the word that rhymes with maggot, you don't walk around all day going, "What's up, my maggot? What's up, my?" I mean, you just if you don't like a word, you don't like it. So I don't understand that, but I still sing it in the songs. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I got no problem with it. I just don't understand that. So
Cat Williams
yeah,
is one of the funniest dudes out there. Oh, God, he uses the N word like most people use the comma. It's crazy.
well, we just seen Casey Chambers do "Lose Yourself" in Eminem, and I let OGL watch the last few rap battles. He's never really seen 8 Mile. Not really. He never really paid attention to the words of "Lose Yourself." They're very powerful, and Eminem has made a rap career and arguably one of the greatest rappers ever, and never had to use the N words. Never, ever. That's pretty. It's pretty good. So yeah, rest in peace to the members of Skinner, and I'm sure members of Neil Young's band that's passed on, and yeah, much love to all the races out there. I don't know what to do to stop it. I just bring awareness
Those that
to
are still
things
with
like
us,
this.
they're still with us after this very, very long video. Thank you so much. We love you. And we'll
Well,
be seeing you around.
that's why I wanted to do the talking at the end.
Understand?
That way, 2 reactions is over. Leave if you want. Watch it later. Whatever. All right. Peace out. Much love.